So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. This is on a new collab channel that we've created called the Atlantic Union, and we hope that this will bring back lots of collab channels because they haven't really been around for a while. But this is going to be a series done by loads of different people on this channel. The people being me, English, Bosnite, Swiss, and Dutch. That guy, yeah. But anyway, that's enough yapping. I think we should just get straight into it. We're going to be starting this so along the sort of Provence, southern France area. As we're not going to be seeing any countries form at this second, but there is going to be a pretty large exploration group just simply popping up. And they're going to be exploring around this area, kind of like, you know, they could probably make some sort of marine vehicles, not vehicles really, but like small boats. But they're going to be also exploring along the more areas of southern France, and also going down into southern Spain, but then they get a bit of a problem. That is the Pyrenees over here, but they can simply kind of go around this on the coast. From here, we do actually see this area start to be the most, I guess, populated and civilized around, as hundreds of people are all gathering around this lake, probably not just hundreds, but like a few thousand probably at this point. They're all going to gather around this river area over here and set up basically a big camp. And eventually there'll start to be some small sort of government settings starting around this river. I have a first very small river nation over here forming. These guys have a small, I guess you could say, aristocratic government. They are very small though, and very loosely controlled. Pretty much there's like no sort of laws. There are some obviously laws, but there's not like any ways to really enforce those laws, so you can kill someone and probably nothing will happen. But this is mainly just a farming civilization, and it's very small and very weak, so no one touch it because it's fragile. But there'll also be more wrong layer. There'll also be more explorationists continuing along this coast over here, eventually kind of crossing into some Italian and Moroccan areas over here as well. We'll see them kind of go over to this river as well and set up another few camps along this river. I guess more so just like farms and camps and that's probably more what they're setting up at this point. As you do start to follow this river then, and follow all the way over here to the Adriatic, where they eventually meet the Venetian, or not the Venetian area, but they also do see the Adriatic Sea, and do send some small explorations out into open waters, but it's nothing huge. But over here as well, we do see a similar thing happen to what we saw in the red team. It's very simple at the moment, so not much really can happen with civilizations, but this river is slowly and steadily more explored. And actually a blue Italian sort of country over here will form. I hate that shape. But actually you do see a blue country over here form, and now I say country very loosely, they're not really countries, they're more so just like governmental controlled weird areas. It's very basic, so it's nothing huge really. This is controlled very similarly to the red team. There's hardly any difference, and there's still probably no contact with each other because that would have to be done on foot, and that's a pretty long way to walk, to be honest. So I'll be staying rather isolated for now. We just see these guys sort of grow and expand over the next couple of decades, I'd say. And their population at this point is probably a bit more, probably around like maybe the 50,000 range. They are now pretty well adapted to the rocky terrain of southern Europe, and they do also kind of meet up with each other a little bit, and it's not like huge. They kind of just have a few like deals in place, nothing like major. There's no real diplomacy between these two, they don't talk to each other much, but they just kind of like, you know, they trade for resources occasionally, and that's really it. We do however start to see the red team expand as they get someone in their new aristocracy who's a bit more wanting to expand the nation a bit, as they expand a bit down south through this river and connect up with the ocean now. And we'll see them start to expand along the coast as they see fishing as a new viable resource of food. Farming is effective, but there's only a limited number of like cows and obviously crops you can fit in like one area. However, the sea has a lot of fish, so you can definitely do a lot more of that than you can with farming, and it's probably a lot easier to do as well. But there are some people in the red team who don't really like this new approach and like farming a lot more than fishing, as a lot more of their infrastructure does start to move down south. So they're going to set off and put themselves over here in this region. These guys are going to be the green team here. They're going to be quite small. They're basically just focused on farming still and not following the ways of the red team, which they don't like. However, a pretty big event does happen then, as the red team starts the first ever major settlement down here by the sea. As this is the first area, I guess big area, that has over 10,000 population, which is pretty big for this time. And this isn't huge, it's probably the size of like I'd say like a moderate sort of European town, but it's definitely one of the biggest things for now. And soon pretty much starts to be become a centre of the known world. Over the next few decades after this, we just basically see a bit more expansion, or a bit more exploration, on my part. Over the next few decades, we basically just see a bit more exploration by all the countries in the world at the minute. And we just see a lot more northern Italy also getting explored, which is pretty good as well. And a big group of people actually start to move down south into Italy, as they want to start their own Italian nation. Although, obviously, you know, it's no one here, yeah. They land on here around this region, wrong layer. They settle mainly along the coast, and their goal is to take a pretty similar approach to the red team and become their own sort of fishing civilization. So now we basically see two types of civilizations: farming civilizations and fishing civilizations. You can kind of see river civilizations as well, but they kind of fall under farming. However then, down in Iberia we see the first separate civilization other than farming and fishing forming. As down in Catalonia, we see a lot of people, in groups actually, start to travel along this area. And these guys are known as the Iberian Horde. Their goal is to travel and explore the main world and conquer any people who live there. They have the first small army of any civilization, and they are willing to invade and conquer anything. They believe that the world is much bigger than they just see right here, and that there is more than beyond, that goes beyond what people have just explored at the minute. These guys are going to become a pretty prominent figure over the next couple of episodes because they will be moving around a lot. Anyway, coming over to the blue team now, we do also see them start to expand. However, it's not like the red team who kind of goes into fishing a bit more. These guys stay landlocked and stay along the river area, as their goal is to fully take over this entire river over here. And eventually, after a couple of years, they are able to officially do this. However, we then see the consequences of this country growing too large, as it will be forced to split completely in two, as it's just too large at the time, and there's no way to basically feed both halves in a way. Because the main area of this country is all the way here. Like, this is, I guess you could put a major settlement down. I'm actually going to do that. The main settlement, big area of this country is all the way over here where it started. So not really able to go all the way over here to feed everyone in this region, to ship everything. Over here now we do also see the green team start to expand a bit more. But anyway, the lime team is now actually the first dictatorship country. One guy basically just claimed all the power and broke away. And they are completely under the rule of one single person, which is the dictator. And they also do start to expand. They are a very expansive country as well. But they want to go beyond the river of just this area here and expand a lot further. So they eventually become something like this. And they're going to have their main settlement all the way over here in Venice. Now coming out to the green team over here, they are going to also expand out mainly into some farming areas, similar to sort of these guys, but you know, not like the red team that will just go along the coast. However, eventually they will meet up with the red team, and we actually see the first ever treaty in history signed, which sets the border along these regions here, because we've never actually seen two countries border each other before. The red country over here is going to continue expanding along the coast, as they are also still seeing fishing as a big opportunity. However, they begin to face the same problems as the blue team, which is that they're getting too long. However, this leader has a solution for it. They're going to build another settlement over here in this region of France, still by the ocean, so they can also ship between these two cities as well. And there's a better plan as well, which is going to be making this city have its own leader. However, he still answers to the main, I guess, aristocracy area. So actually one of the 6 aristocrats is sent over here to basically rule over this city. However, they are still a part of the Red Nation, and they will still answer to the main aristocracy. Obviously similar things start to happen with towns as well, in which we start to see like local rulers as well. They start to become a thing. And basically just a lot of that really. Going back down to the orange team down here, they are also going to expand mainly along the coast. However, they do also go a bit more inland. These guys will also have the very smart idea of creating settlements, and we also do see the first ever sort of boat exploration start to come around the sea area of the country here. It's not the first ever. The red team has also done some others as well, on some maybe fishing exploration ships as well. However, the orange Italian country over here is going to do something quite important, as one of their shipping boats is going to get lost, and it's going to land on Corsica over here. There's about 100 people, so they won't be very big at first. However, give it a while and it starts to become a bit bigger, and after maybe about, let's say 10 years, there's about a few more people there. After about maybe like 50 years, there's probably about 500ish people, in which are completely separate from the orange team over here, and declare themselves separate as the nation of Ronglea. They'll just become the nation of Corsica over here, and set up their own sort of thing. However, now coming over to the green team, they're not doing very well. They've continued to refuse to make their own settlements themselves and expand anymore, or even get ocean access, because they see the old ways of farming is much better at suiting everything. However, the old ways of farming is starting to slowly die out, and fishing is becoming a lot more efficient to do. So the green team is basically going to full on collapse. The government doesn't work anymore, and it's pretty much just free land now. There's so many people living here. However, the red team will start to expand into the old green team lands, because there are some very valuable farms, and even also like charge tax to the other people who live here as well, in which they will promise the remaining citizens of the old green country to make their lives better as they finally build a settlement where the old green country was. The red team is definitely the stronger country at the minute, which they're not really that. I mean, I guess they're kind of strong, but I mean, it's not really strength at the minute. However, now we're going to move down to Catalonia, and for the final event of this video, we're going to look at what the nomadic horde of Catalonia does, or Iberia in general. As we're going to come along over here and continue down the coast, and continue expanding and exploring down in this entire area of Iberia here, getting very south, in which they'll completely abandon their old shape over here, and move more down south near to the Valencia area. And the goal is still the same. They want to conquer the entire known world at the minute. However, we'll have to see how this evolves in the next episode. Thank you for watching the first episode of Wixo Co-op. This will hopefully become a very long-lasting series, as we do plan to make it very big. However, we will see you guys in the next one. Not presented by me, it'll be presented by someone else. But other than that, we will see you in the next one. Bye bye.